Hi, everybody. Hi. I am so excited to be back on live. This is so exciting. I don't know if I should wait for people or if I should just get started with the intro. Hi. Okay, Danait, I'm just going to introduce everyone to Watered Down and give the introduction, and then I will have you join, okay? Okay. So, hi everybody. My name is Riley K. Hodges. I am so excited to be back with Watered Down. Today's episode is about rebuilding Black and Brown people's relationship to nature, something that I'm extremely excited about. If you see me looking over here, it's because I have my laptop. I have a lot of resources and a lot of things that I want to get to today. So let's get started. Okay, so first, my name is Riley K. Hodges. I am the creator of Watered Down. I created Watered Down as an environmental education platform in 2021. And it's mostly to water down environmental issues, climate change, environmental justice, and a little bit of sustainability. I speak with community activists, business owners, political leaders, land conservationists, farm owners, environmental analysts on various topics concerning environmental. Hi, you guys. Hi. Yes, happy Juneteenth. Topics range from climate change. I've talked about the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis, food insecurity. But the reason I created Watered Down is because I believe academia and science communication made the climate crisis very complex. So much to the point where people just kind of was like, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on. I know that the earth is sick, but I don't know how to help it. I don't know how to advocate for myself or my community. So I'm super excited that this platform is a space where I can talk about these topics with you all and with other people to water it down a little bit. Yes, somebody said happy Juneteenth. Yes, happy Juneteenth. If you guys don't know, because I know there's going to be a lot of people watching this. If you don't know, Juneteenth is a celebration for African Americans. On June 19th, 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, Union troops arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas, letting enslaved African Americans know about their freedom. I am so excited to be covering this topic today as we talk about rebuilding our relationship to nature. We can also reflect and honor the lives that came before us to be able to enjoy our environment in a free and joyous way. So I'm super excited about our guest. Hi you guys. I'm going to invite them and then I'll let them introduce themselves. So let me see if I can.
Hi.
Oh, I love this so much. Hi, Danait.
Hi,
I love
Riley.
you guys. Listen, you outside. I love
I,
it.
I had to. I'm in my backyard.
Hi, backyard. Okay, Danait, so we can get started, but I want people to know who you are. So if you could introduce yourself, tell us about yourself and your educational background.
Yeah. So my name is Danait Isaac. I am a recent Vanderbilt graduate where I double majored, thank you, in medicine, health and society, and gender and sexuality studies with a minor in environment and sustainability. I know that's a mouthful, but basically my academic interests focused on the intersection of environmental justice and the well-being of Black and Brown communities. And I was born and raised in Metro Atlanta, and Atlanta has a long history of environmental justice issues, which still impact how the city is today, from the prevalence of food insecurity and food deserts to the high rates of asthma among Black and Brown children. And this really motivated me to learn more about how I could implement change.
I love that.
Thank you.
Okay. So, in light of your educational background, I'm gonna tell people how I
Yeah.
met you. Okay, so you guys, I grew up in Florida. For some reason, I don't think the community that I was a part of, we went outside a lot. I don't remember,
Mm,
like going outside or going camping, or I didn't grow up like that wasn't my experience. So it wasn't until the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program that I was honestly introduced to hiking and nature, where I honestly fell in love with it.
mhm.
And that's how I met Danait, you guys. I met her at the reunion last year, and I was like, when I met you and you started talking a little bit about what you were passionate about, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to get her. So that's how I met her, and she had an initiative called Brownies Outdoors, if I'm mistaken.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I got to know what she's passionate about. But Danae, and in light of your educational background, what moved you to create Brownies Outdoors, or the initiative that you were telling me about?
Yeah, so the summer after my freshman year, I was super excited to be a part of the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program. And the program really focuses on diversifying the conservation field by providing support and mentorship to students from unrepresentative backgrounds. And so I spent 2 summers in California, the first summer with 19 other scholars, and it was also the first time where I went camping and canoeing, and also the second summer I went surfing for the first
Oh.
time. And it was really beautiful to experience nature in community with other Black and Brown folks. And I really don't know how else to describe it. Like, it was so magical. And I wanted to be able to like recreate that at Vanderbilt. And Brownies Outdoors, shout out to Annie. It was definitely like a collective effort amongst our cohort of Doris Duke and the cohort right after us, where we wanted a platform to be able to share and connect with all the work that we were doing across the nation, and also be able to shed visibility and challenge stereotypes and foster a sense of belonging in this environmental sphere. And so that's how Brownie Outdoors came to be.
So, with being the almost like the innovator of that kind of platform, because honestly we don't, I mean, there are platforms, and we'll talk about that, you guys, we'll talk about it later in the talk. There are platforms out there that facilitate that, but what obstacles and like what barriers, when you guys first started creating it, what was like the pushback of like, okay, we have some issues when it comes to maybe accessibility or getting people
Mhm.
involved, or like, what was the barriers that you faced?
Yeah, so after the summer was over and I went back to Vanderbilt, I was super inspired. I was like, I need to like recreate this. I need to find space and find resources and funding to be able to take Black students out off campus and take them and do all these recreational trips. And one of the primary obstacles was finding funding. So like one of the first trips I did my sophomore year, it was a paddleboarding and kayaking trip on Percy Priest. And for 1 hour to rent a paddleboard is $30. Plus, you got to factor in that you got to pay for an Uber that's like almost 40 minutes away. So
No.
you can imagine that only happened once. Like, I was only able to do one trip that whole year. And even thinking back to that very first trip, it was such a beautiful day out. Like everyone had a great time, and I created a flyer. I posted it on Instagram. So it wasn't like these were all my friends. We were able to build community out there and be able to get to know each other. And um, a lot of the people who came on that first trip ended up being the biggest supporters of Blackness in the Great Outdoors, which I started um, later on my junior year. So definitely like the logistical challenges as well, because I am doing this because I'm passionate about it and I want to, but being able to like, hey, like make a flyer, figure out like how much this is going to cost, being able to organize this on top of being like a full-time student and then also holding various other leadership positions was very challenging to juggle.
So when you when you started like actually creating the community, what were you hearing of why people weren't coming outside? Because I know there's certain stereotypes of, oh, black people don't go outside, or it's
Mhm.
because of our hair, it's because of, like you said, the money of going, like even going to these places. So what like narratives have you heard when it comes to people, black and brown people not going outside?
Yeah. So during Doris Duke, I was introduced to Caroline Finney's book, Black Faces, White Spaces, where she analyzes the historical relationship of Black people and their natural surroundings. And there are several reasons why Black and Brown people may not engage with the outdoors as much. And the biggest thing is like there's historical trauma. When we think about slavery,
Yes.
and I'm like, one of the things that resonated with me from the book was she was interviewing this middle-aged Black woman who lived in Oregon, and she was scared to go hiking because of lynching that occurred in that area. And when we think about the modern Black Lives Matter movement, like Ahmaud Arbery was
Yes.
jogging in his own neighborhood, and there's even been stories of Black birders being getting
Yes.
called on by police. So like these concerns are valid,
Yeah.
and thinking to like the primary outdoor recreational club that was at my school, they went to very rural areas in the southern states. So like even thinking about when we're asking Black folks to partake in an outdoor recreational activity, it's a safety concern.
Yes.
So I feel like that was probably one of the biggest things I was thinking about. Like, how can I make this a safe space?
Mm.
How can I ensure that everyone will feel comfortable and will be able to really enjoy their time in nature? And at the end of my junior year, our Black Cultural Center introduced a grant where we could apply for funding for any type of initiative, any programming that we would want to see happen at Vanderbilt. And I came up with Blackness and the Great Outdoors, where I could provide free outdoor recreational trips for Black students, faculty, and staff, but also tying it to a discussion event and dialogue group so we could debunk some of these stereotypes and address people's concerns before we actually went on these trips.
I love that because I think people want to be outside because I joke about it saying like, oh, we don't want to be people want to be outside, and for you to facilitate that is just awesome. Like, and even the point about a safe space, because I think that is the main concern, when we're talking about rebuilding our relationship, it has to be centered in safety. Like, I have to feel
Mhm.
secure and safe that if I go and try to connect with the environment, I'm going to come back. I'm going to be okay. Um, Thank you for that. I have a few, because this is watered down. So if you guys don't know, I like to water down things. A lot of, science communication can make it very complex for people to understand. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Listen, I love this conversation already. I got my questions right here. Okay. So these are just a few things that I want to put out there, maybe for you guys to think about as you're listening to the conversation. Hi, you guys. So I was like, as I'm doing these talks, I always like research about the topic or what is it that we are really trying to get at. And it's honestly nature connectedness of like being connected to our environment. And the Wilderness Society did a survey in 2021 of outdoor participation and found only 9% were Black. And for me, that's such a small, that's a
That's so small.
that is so small. And it kind of hurt my feelings because I'm like, wow, like I'm in that 9%, but it's like I want more people to be a part of that. Like I feel like it's a movement now of like people
Hmm.
going outside. But a lot of the barriers they touched on in the article were racist policies of redlining, economic segregation. So, like you were saying, the amount it costs, the monetary like of what you have to spend on going out to these places. Like I wanted to go to Yellowstone Park, and like I was looking up tickets, and I'm like,
No, because I was like, why is it like $80? I promise you I see it. I was looking that up the other day. And I was like, oh, okay. So a park,
it's
like,
gonna be put on the list. It's on the shelf.
yeah.
But economic segregation, psychological scars, like you talked about, like the trauma left by racial treatment in the outdoors, and then the lack of access to public
Mm-hmm.
transportation. It's just so many things. And I think even so, like as we talk about platforms and resources that people can, reach out to connect with their environment in their area, I think many of the grassroots activities are not being, I don't know, they're not being captured in research surrounding, what people
Yeah.
are actually trying to do, like, because, for example, the resources that we're about to give everyone, a lot of people don't know about them. So
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to bring this platform and bring attention and spotlight into this issue is just phenomenal.
I was also going to mention that there, and also in Caroline Finney's book, she, creates this narrative where she's able to trace back and show how Black people have always been a part of, like,
Mm,
caretaking of Earth and making
yes.
it our home. And I think a lot of that gets lost. And a friend recently gave me a book called Been Outside, and it's a book of short stories of Black research scientists, Black surfers, and it's each chapter is about a different outdoor adventure that this Black woman or non-binary person has grown to love, and how it's like changed their life or become a place to be able to contemplate. And because when we even think about like the health benefits of being outside, it can improve. Like I remember there's a study that I read that putting your hands in dirt and doing gardening can actually increase the amount of serotonin um, that goes on in your body. So I think a lot of stories are not being told. I think a lot of stories are being buried in terms of Black people's experience in the outdoor space. And so,
Yes.
like 9% is so small. I hope that has changed since the
That,
last
yeah,
time
well, that
people.
was 2021. So
Okay.
I hope. But I loved how you touched on the health benefits, right? So we're going off our questions, but we'll come back. But I just love this conversation so much because I don't think people understand how beneficial for us that it is to be outside, right?
Hmm.
And like you said, we have always been like we've always cared about the environment. But I think, like you said, our stories are getting buried. Right, beautifully said. No, I agree because listen, and even the part about the health benefits, right? So, Mental Health Foundation said people with good nature connectedness tend to be happier, and it
Mm.
evokes calmness, joy, creativity, and can facilitate concentration. But then also, it's associated with lower levels of poor mental health, of depression and anxiety. So it's almost like when people say, "Oh, touch grass."
Yes, we
Like
need
I
to
know
touch
it's like
grass.
it's a Twitter thing.
It's an
Like go touch
insult. It's a
grass.
little bit like,
Go touch
girl,
grass.
touch grass.
And I just love that saying because it's like funny, but it's also like no, for real. Go touch grass to recenter yourself. Okay, so now we can go back. That was a good. No, I really love this conversation today. So okay, so we talked about the obstacles that people came across when it came to going outside. You told us about what you heard, and most of it was surrounding safety, of like
Mhm.
not feeling safe. So, in a perfect world, because as we're talking about um, rebuilding our relationship to nature, I think we also need to call to the stage organizations and companies that are powerhouses in these arenas, right?
Yeah.
So, in a perfect world, how could outdoor organizations and companies better market to and entice Black and Brown people to go outside?
Yeah. That is a really good question. And when we look at environmental justice issues, Black and brown communities tend to know what they need. They know what exactly is impacting them and the solutions, but they often lack the technical expertise. They lack the resources and the funding. And when we look at this like historical, from a historical viewpoint, though also decisions have been made for them. Government officials and other organizations tend to decide whatever to do and then like implement that in those communities versus actually seeing community members and leaders as partners, as collaborators. And so I think that's a really big part, or a big way that outdoor organizations can better market to the Black and brown communities. I'm even thinking about like REI and their collaborations with Outdoor Afro,
Yes.
um, and even Patagonia with Black Girl Environmentalists, another nonprofit. So being able to not only partner and collaborate, but being able to financially compensate community leaders for their knowledge and for the work that they are doing, to make sure that it's more ethical and sustainable and not and doesn't cause burnout,
Yes.
than like community organizing. And I think also, I know that some organizations are offering like slide for pay. So based on your financial income, pay what you can to be able to experience said outdoor recreational activity. I know there was a surfing organization that I looked into while I was in Santa Cruz that also offered that as well. And then also, I think the biggest thing is education, like even social media marketing, and even thinking about Juneteenth. I've been loving all the posts that all these different outdoor orgs are posting
Yes.
in honor of Juneteenth and highlighting all these incredible like Black environmentalists and Black people that love doing outdoor recreational activities as well.
Yes. Thank you. That was actually a good answer. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
No, I think people I think collaboration is the key. I think a lot of times we think that we have to, you know, in inside of it, we have to create these spaces for ourselves, but also like being able to collaborate with organizations that are doing the work, but saying, hey, like, can you make not make some room, but make some room
Yeah,
at the table for us, right?
yeah.
So I love that. So as we're talking about just making room and creating more spaces for Black and brown people in the outdoors. This, watered down, I like to say it's a platform to demystify the climate crisis, right? So I kind of always I have to slip climate crisis in there somewhere. But do you think, or is climate change affecting Black and brown people's ability to connect with nature?
I mean, absolutely. Um, I think like the biggest way it's even impacting outdoor recreation in general is like we're losing green space. We're getting um, less snowfall. There's going to be higher sea level rises. That impacts surfing and snow sports for everyone, no matter your skin or what race you are. But climate change disproportionately impacts Black and brown communities and higher levels of air pollution, like tying it back to like the asthma in Black and brown children in Atlanta. So there's less ways to be able to experience green space in a clean and safe way if going outside it's causing health issues.
Right.
Um, so I'm, really nervous to see what the earth will look like in the next to 10 to 15 years, especially as like we've gone past a lot of our
Goals.
goals in terms of like climate change. And Black and brown communities are going to be hit the hardest. And even thinking about like urban centers, and those are typically where Black and brown people live. So it's going to worsen a lot of the disparities in terms of access.
I always say, because I live in Florida, and I always
What
like
part of
people.
Florida? I wanted to ask earlier.
I live in Orlando
Oh,
right now. Yeah.
where were you
So a
raised?
lot of people,
Where were
sorry,
you raised?
I was in
Was it?
Jacksonville. So North Central Florida is like where I kind of
Mhm.
fluctuate. But a lot of people, a lot of my friends are trying to get me out of Florida. They're like, no, you gotta leave. Especially because the policies in Florida are taking us backwards.
Yeah.
That's what I'll
I mean, I
say.
live in Georgia, so I don't know if it's any better.
But I think I want to say like Florida, our climate, I don't know, there's pockets of like really good work happening,
Mhm.
but then when you look at the whole state and totality of like Florida, like if we don't get it together, you're gonna be underwater. You know, that's something that is on people's mind and on people's radar. But I think when it comes to climate change, a lot of what's happening, I think it is mostly about education, right? So I think a lot of people, when we're talking about rebuilding our relationships with the environment, I think if people connected with the environment more, and not even just black and brown people, just people in general, if they connected with the environment more, the feeling of stewardship would be evoked, right? So
Mhm.
like I would feel like, okay, I'm I live here. I have some say in what happens to this environment, right? One of the I'm forgetting like what article I was reading, but it was talking about, I don't know if you know James Edward Mills. Have you heard of him?
No.
So I'm glad you were talking about books because like keep that on your mind because I want to like type it in the chat later. But
Yeah.
he's the author of The Adventure Gap, Changing the Faces of Outdoors. And he thinks we need to help people address these limitations to ensure a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive outdoor. So doing so will help protect these spaces for the future,
Mhm.
as deep relationships with nature will encourage people to protect the environment.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's this disconnect with the environment, and I wonder if that's the reason why, one of the reasons why climate change or climate is even a crisis at
Mhm.
all, right? So I think this conversation is so important because it will get people to start thinking, I need to start connecting with my environment more so I can feel the sense of, no, like actually I do have a say in the policies that, go on in my state, or, like just little things like that. Oh,
Yeah.
said somebody said I'm nervous too. The Earth's temperature is continuously rising, and I can feel the intensity of the summer heat grow each year.
Me too.
Listen, I say there was no spring this year. There was no
There
spring.
was no spring. It literally went from like so cold to it being hot. Like what happened to the medium?
There was not. No, like I don't make because Georgia. Listen, Georgia gets hot too. I've been in Georgia. It gets hot. No, I need to. I don't even know where I need to go because they say the heat wave this year is going to be even worse than last year.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting too because I spent some time traveling in Europe last summer, and a lot of homes in Europe don't have AC because they didn't really need them.
Mhm.
And now they're experiencing like unprecedented heat waves and heat levels to where like it's so hot, a lot of people are passing out
Yes.
and heat strokes as well. So,
And
yeah.
that's a whole nother thing, like infrastructure. Like these cities, most of the world is not prepared for these types of, like the climate shift that's happening.
Hmm.
Like think of Europe. Europe is like so old. Like I say it's ancient, but like it's so old. Like America is fairly a baby if you like think
Yeah.
about the history of the world. So we're like, oh, we got AC, but their infrastructure is not equipped for that, or they don't even think the temperatures that they normally would experience are not even close to what they're about to experience.
Yeah.
But so we're almost done. Oh, we're almost done. Look at
Oh,
this is so good.
time flew
I,
by.
no, I was like, oh, because usually I have 5 questions, and I was like, oh no, I got more for her. I was like, I love this conversation. Okay, so the last question. What are some or other organizations, because I know we talked about a few, but what are some
Mhm.
organizations that you know of that connect Black and brown people to the outdoors? I have some, but I wanted to, like give the spotlight to you because you are our
Don't say expert because not too much.
No, I gotta gas you up. You're our expert today. So if you know of any, like, let us know, let the people know, because I want people to, even for this summer, to be able to say, "Oh, I'm thinking about going outside." Like I talk
Yeah.
about running clubs because
Running
everybody
clubs are
loves
becoming
them.
so popular, and I'm like, I don't even like to run, but I want to go. Like, I just feel like, wow, it's bringing, especially there's been like a lot of black running clubs in the DMV area that I've been seeing recently, and I'm like, I would love to join one.
I love it though, because it's almost like you're networking, you're socializing, but you're also
Mhm.
getting fit. You're also outside.
Yeah,
I love it.
but I feel like probably the easiest way to get involved with a lot of outdoor recreational activities in your area is probably Outdoor Afro. I mentioned them a little bit earlier in the call. They've become nationwide, so there's multiple chapters within a state, and the CEO Rue Map has really expanded the organization, provided a lot of training for volunteer leaders, and they've done a lot in like the past 5 years in terms of like collaborations and trying to make the outdoor space a lot more accessible and inclusive. There's Latino outdoors, Diversify Outdoors. I also wanted to highlight re Wilding, which is an outdoor recreational program that's directly for people impacted by the criminal justice system. And so there's been like a couple organizations as well, very similar in terms of trying to connect formerly incarcerated folks and their family with access to like nature and outdoor recreational activities as well. There's Black Girls Trekking. I know in Atlanta there's like a ATL hike club, but there's actually so much, and I think there's this app called Meetup now where a lot of the trips are organized. There's also Peace and Wild. There's Black Girl Surf. Sorry, they're like coming to mind, but there's literally so much. We could come up with a directory maybe to
Yes.
put up on your Instagram for people to look at.
I would love that. Cause listen, they're so, and that's the thing. We talked about it, right? All these new running clubs. Listen, there's so many access points that we have that they're trying. I'm not gonna say they're trying to not let us see them, but like I think, but like once you're interested in it, your algorithm starts to like feed it to you.
Hmm.
So having this conversation just is honestly the start. Somebody said any
Yes,
walking
and that's what hiking is.
club. Listen, we got y'all covered. We gonna give y'all the walking clubs, the running clubs,
Maybe
the
some jogging
hiking clubs.
clubs. Oh my gosh, one of my close friends, he's really into plogging. I hope I'm saying that right, but basically you're going on a walk and you're picking up litter. You're picking up trash.
It's called
I
clogging.
think it's plogging. I'm gonna have to look that up and ask him about it. But he also came up with that name, so and he helped me out.
Maybe like plastic. Somebody said that's so real though. Maybe like clogging. Oh, you said he came up with it.
Yeah,
Oh, is he here? Yes, he said.
plogging. Oh my gosh, yes.
You
And
have
I'm
to
like,
tell us
wow,
about it one day.
you're hitting too. Like you're literally picking up trash. You're helping clean up the environment right now, and you're getting your steps in.
You're killing two birds with one stone. I love it. No, but thank you so much, Danait. I'm so excited that we were able to have this conversation on this day. You guys, I told Danait, I gave her like a couple of dates, and she was like, oh, let's do,
You're Juneteenth,
yes.
yes.
So I love it. Thank you so much. Do you have any like plugs, anything that you want to tell people?
Hmm.
Anything you have coming up? Like anything. This is your
Oh.
time.
No, I would just really want to plug in that book, Been Outside. I think it's been really impactful for me to read it, especially as I'm like in this new transitional phase of my life and trying to figure out like what my next steps are and how I can always come back to nature and going outside and feeling at peace and at home and really not like, I really hope I never take it for granted. It's such a gift to be able to be outside like this. So. Yeah, thank you so much, Riley. It was so good to talk to you and to catch up and have this very important conversation.
Yes. And thank you all for joining. I am so excited that we can have conversations like this. Oh, the book title. Oh, can you say the book one more time?
Been outside, outdoor
Been outside.
adventures of Black women not and non-binary folks. Yeah.
And I think the other book that we talked about, because I have it with me,
Oh,
it's the Carolyn Finney Black
I
Faces,
think it's
White
Black Space.
Spaces.
Yeah.
Yes. So these are, and we'll have, listen, I'm going to go through and watch this so I can like plug everything for you all. So thank you all so much for joining. I hope you join next time. Don't forget to follow. And thank you so much, Danait.
Thank you. Bye. Happy Juneteenth, y'all.
Bye. Happy Juneteenth. I think, wait. Thank you guys so much. Bye. See you next time.